Okay, hello everybody. How you guys doing? Happy New Year, everyone. My name is Mark. This is Why I Hate the World. What's going on? We're back after a nice brief Christmas pause there. Back to yell and scream and cry about conservatives and their wacky conservative selves. So, got a lot to talk about today. Let's jump right into it. The theme for this week is heroes. Specifically, a few things I want to talk about. Um, a lot of things have been happening over the last couple of weeks, which have caught my attention. In particular, just the way that liberals and progressives um, treat their heroes as compared to how you would see it on the conservative side. That kind of thing. And I want to talk a little bit about that. And then I found this other guy that named John Doyle on YouTube, which is really wacky and hilarious. He's like a very conservative Christian dude talking about the separation between church and state. So we'll talk about him a little bit later. Excuse me. So, before we get into that, let's take a look at where we're at. So, this is our dueling dragons here that we were working on. Um, I'm actually using another program here called Kitra, the Krita, Kitra. I don't know, Kita, I guess. Krita, something like that. Which is like a Photoshop alternative. I've never actually used this before, so this could be like, a disaster. We'll see. I'll be learning this as we go along. But anyway, seems to be working pretty well. So yeah, we're looking pretty good here. I think we'll draw a little bit on this blue dragon, put some highlights on him today. Yeah, if it looks like that I'm sort of scrambling around, not knowing what I'm doing, that's because I don't. And this is going to be a learning experience for both of us. So let's see. Let me just make sure I got everything set up the way I likes it. Get that over there. All right. And let's go ahead and jump right into the fun times. Okay. So, last couple of weeks since Christmas have been. Oh, wait. Shit, wrong layer. Ha ha ha. Let's just undo that. See, I'm still kind of getting used to stuff here. I want to select my blue dragon. And then I want to choose that color. All right. So yeah, lots of stuff has been very I don't know, lots of wacky things in the news over the last couple of weeks here. One thing I wanted to talk about, there was a video that came around of Kyle Rittenhouse at an America, a USA, Turning Point USA event where he sort of comes out and it's like they're welcoming like him to the stage, and he's got his own theme music. And that sort of made the rounds about a week ago, like right around Christmas time. And yeah, so that kind of is very sad and disturbing. The just how they're treating this kid like he's like some kind of hero. I mean, if you really think about it, like what did he actually do? We've talked a lot about Rittenhouse here in the past, the last couple weeks, and I know that I said my last video was going to be the very last video ever I would do on him, but he got back into the news, so it's sort of like I don't know. We got to talk about it. What did he do exactly? What is he famous for, Kyle Rittenhouse? He's basically famous for killing two people and not going to jail. That's like his claim to fame, right? And since he got off, he's like gone on this like wide like media tour and has just done all of these talk shows and everything. He went on the Charlie Kirk show. He went on a couple of right-wing podcasts. One in particular was called You Are Here. Several others. He went on Tucker Carlson. He was on with Pete Hegseth on Fox News. Is that how you pronounce that guy's name? Hegseth. He went down to Mar-a-Lago and got to visit, and meet Donald Trump, who is no doubt one of his heroes and shit. And it's like, what is he, he's sort of like in the spotlight now. And what did he actually do? He killed two people. And why would you celebrate that, right? Like, here's the thing, okay? Here's the actual, sorry about that. Sorry for grabbing the mic there for a second, but here's the actual video that I want to show to you guys. I'm sure you've probably seen this around, right? Let me just make that a little bit bigger so that you can all see it. This is actually, let's not make that big. I don't want to get, copy striked or whatever. This is Kyle Rittenhouse coming out at the Turning Point USA event.
Get loud for Kyle.
All right, let's turn that down just a little. Look at this. It's like he has his own theme song, right? You hear that in the background, and it really looks like to me like he's in the WWE, right? Like he's a wrestler coming out on stage. Look at this. Look at this shit. American flag with his name, Kyle Rittenhouse, written above the things. Everybody cheering. Here's his fucking face over here, and he's like walking out in a suit and all that. They're treating him like he's a fucking hero. Like, look at this. It's and then the crowd screaming, chanting his name here. Like you half expect fucking Hulk Hogan to walk out and like for them to start fighting and shit. Right? It's absolutely, first off, another thing I noticed is there's like no black people in the fucking crowd here. It's just all white. And isn't Turning Point USA supposed to be like an organization for teenagers? Yeah, these are some real teenagers here. Anyway, going on, moving. Yeah, teenagers with beards in the crowd here.
What's up, bro? This is the most famous TikToker in America. 4 doors, more whores. He's in there.
4 doors, more whores. Yeah, okay. So anyway, that's that's the kind of response that Mr. Rittenhouse is getting running around, and he's a hero. He's a right-wing hero. He's enjoying his newfound celebrity. And what is he a celebrity for? Why are they celebrating him? They're celebrating him because he killed two people. He killed two people and he got away with it. And that's what they want. That's the reason why that they love him so much, because they want to kill people and get away with it also. That's really it, you know? Um, and they kind of did the same thing. I don't know if you remember, remember when Trayvon Martin, when that happened a few years ago? They kind of did the same thing to George Zimmerman for a little bit, but it wasn't as nuts as this. It was sort of like he went on a bunch of talk shows and everything, right? But he didn't have like crowds shouting his name, He wasn't treated like a superstar, right? Like he went on a bunch of talk shows and then he went and said, "Oh, I was innocent, blah blah blah. I didn't do it. Whatever, self-defense, stand your ground, blah blah blah." And then he just sort of like, faded into the background, and then you'd get a news story here or there about how like Zimmerman was like, hard up for cash or something, or like how he would like, I think he had to like auction off the gun or whatever, shit like that, right? That kind of thing. He didn't come out to like like fucking massive applause like Rittenhouse does. And it just kind of got me thinking. It's like, well, why? Why are they treating this dude like he's fucking the second coming of Jesus? You know? And I think partially, like part of it has to do with just how polarized everybody is now, right? And how there's this big push on the right wing for essentially a second civil war. And then it also kind of like got me thinking like they really haven't had a lot of wins recently. If you think about it, like the whole thing with the election kind of, they lost the election and then they lost all of the appeals to the election and then like the January 6th thing, which is just like refuses to go away. Like the more you find out about it, the worse you realize it is. And all these revelations about senators and shit who are in on it and all that stuff. So there really hasn't been a lot of wins recently on the right wing. And then when you come to like, high profile criminal cases, things like Derek Chauvin, they lost. The dudes in the Armand Avery case lost. Right. The one cop that accidentally pulled a taser, like she claimed that what was her name? What the hell was her name? Now I got to look it up. I can't just say it like, without, let's see, cop taser. What was her name? Kim Potter. That was the one. The one police officer lady who shot a dude like point blank range and then like tried to say that, oh, I accidentally shot him. I really was just trying to pull my taser out when it's like there's no way on earth that you would mistake a taser for a gun. Right? Especially if you're a police officer who's supposed to have the training in order to prevent this kind of thing. So, yeah, it seems like there really hasn't been a lot of wins on their side, right? So they're like really sort of losing their minds over like, here's the one case that we actually won, and they're writing it for everything they've got. And that's really what it seems like to me, like a lot of that, but also just a lot of just living vicariously, you know. There really is a lot of sentiment, I think. Hey, Lewis the Hedgehog, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining. There really is a lot of sentiment, I think, on the right wing that this is sort of like their fantasy, Like BLM, I think, really scared the crap out of a lot of middle America. A lot of like white middle America really kind of lost their minds last summer when all of the BLM protests and everything. I think I think we on the left here, if you are someone who supports BLM, I think we really underestimated how scared, you know, the average sort of um, white suburban mom is of Black Lives Matter, right? Whether that's founded or not, I'm not going to get into that. But the perception definitely has been, like in the right wing, they've definitely sort of milked that for everything they can in order to scare suburbanites into voting Republican. Really, really used as much like just for weeks and weeks and on end. They would, Fox News and OAN and all of the right wing media outlets just sort of played these stories over and over and over about how like you know, entire cities burned down and all of this shit, and how BLM are murdering people, and just, sending out all this misinformation, shit that's just not true at all. Because when in real life you look and you actually look at what really happened, and it was just like something like 7% of the protests resulted in violence of any kind, right? You know, when in real life, and it's like, they say entire cities burned down. It's like, no, entire cities did not burn down. Portland, Oregon did not burn down. It's still there. It's not like but this is what you would hear, and go talk to any conservative friends or family that you might have and mention BLM, and these are the points they're going to bring up. You know, they're going to say that they spent an entire summer going around and destroying businesses and burning down cities and murdering police officers when in real life none of that shit happened, and it's because that's what they kept hearing in the right wing alternative media sphere, right? And I really think that then they see this kid, you know because remember this was a BLM protest that he went to go kill these two people. They see this kid do what they want to do, you know, defending defending America or whatever, right? And they're just projecting this fantasy that they have onto him, and that's why he's getting so much support. That's really, I really think there's a lot to that, you know, that this is why he's getting a standing ovation when he goes to a fucking, event like this, and why he's on this media tour and everybody's booking him, and it's like, what the fuck are they talking to him about? There was, Tucker Carlson was talking to him about girls, like if he likes boobs or ass. Like those are the questions. So he really doesn't have anything to contribute. And for Rittenhouse's part, I think Rittenhouse is just fucking like enjoying it while it lasts because he expressed no desire to join politics at all, and I think he's just writing it. And if he was smart, he'd write a book or something, right? So just kind of get blows me away. Like this is, these are the things that conservatives and right wingers, these are the types of heroes that they, the people that they turned into heroes, I guess is how to say it, are, you know, they're sort of like fantasy stand-ins for fucking you know. Another example, another recent conservative hero is this guy named Jared Schmeck. I don't know if you've heard about this guy. He was the guy that on Christmas Eve, in a phone call with the President of the United States, used a euphemism to tell the President of the United States to go fuck off. And it's because, first off, he's a coward who was too chicken shit to actually say it to the president's face. You had him on the phone, it was live. You could have just said, hey, Joe Biden, fuck you. And he didn't do that. Instead, he said, let's go, Brandon. And I don't know if you guys have seen this, but let me turn this on. Here is Jared Schmeck telling the president to go fuck off.
Granddaughter. Celebrate your granddaughter.
Oh,
Well,
and how about Penelope?
Well, Penelope, she's only 2, so I think she'd be happy with just about it.
Oh, that's great.
Well, that's great.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful that you have a 2-year-old. Well, have a Merry Christmas. Have a wonderful Christmas.
and by the way, you guys have to be in bed by 9 o'clock, and asleep between 9 and 12, or he doesn't show up.
This isn't to you, Jared. This is to the kids.
That's right.
Well, I hope you have a wonderful
Hey,
Christmas.
well, yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas as well. Merry
Thank you.
Christmas, and let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. I agree. Hey, by the way, where are you in Oregon?
Okay. That's and here's the thing about this, okay? Who cares? Number one, do you care? I don't really actually give a shit. I don't think anybody out there really gives a shit. It's just, here's the thing about this, right? It's incredibly, like, face palmingly, embarrassingly cringy, is what that is, right? You know, it's sort of like if you were to like go to your grandparents or something and start like talking to them and like using like internet slang with your grandparents and they would have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. That's what that is, right? You just basically went to an 80-year-old man and like, you know, said some shit that like the president has no fucking clue what that was, right? Probably has heard it and is just like, yeah, whatever. And it's just embarrassing is what it is. It's embarrassing for all of us in the country. You know what I mean? And I noticed because here's the thing. All right, I'm not gonna get on this guy's case for freedom of speech or any shit like that. I'm not gonna say anything like that because plenty of people during the Trump years told Donald Trump to fuck off. You know, none of them did it on live TV because that's fucking dumb, right? But I'm not going to get on this dude's case. I'm not going to say, hey, you shouldn't, I maybe would say maybe he should have just said fuck off. Maybe he should have just done that. But I'm not going to like try to like take the moral high ground or any shit like that with this dude, right? God, okay, I'm trying to figure out here. See, this is a new program for me, so it's like I don't know what all the shortcuts are. Right? Stuff like that. I'm still trying to figure out like how this fucking let's see, size, general. See, there's a bunch of shit that I'm like still not actually like understanding here, you know. Maybe I should just go back to Photoshop. I think it was this one or maybe this one. And then that's another thing is it seems like, when you choose a brush, the presets that you leave for it like don't save. You know what I mean? Like it always goes back to how it was like fuck. Okay. Well, anyway. Yeah. But here's the thing about this, right? First off, this dude, his name is Jared Schmeck, has kind of chicken shit out on his like stance here, right? First off, claiming that it was just a joke. That was his thing. He went on right after this because Jared Schmeck is also now becoming quickly a sort of he's getting his 15 minutes of right wing fame over this, right? He went on Steve Bannon's show after this, and he claimed that he wasn't a Trump supporter. His exact words were, "I'm not a Trumper," right? But oh, I could just do this here. Okay, that's nice. Um, Claimed, yeah, I'm not a Trumper, but then he goes on Steve Bannon's show and he like talks about like, basically saying that, well, he was wearing a MAGA hat. He was claiming that the election was 100% stolen. So it's like, okay, yeah. So he just lied, is what it was. It's all, I'm not a Trumper, but, I support Donald Trump and I think the election was stolen. Get the fuck out of here. He's obviously a Trump supporter. Right. And he says he's a follower of Jesus, but he's also proud that he said what he said. So that's the thing that really kind of like I think it turns a lot of people into thinking that, these people are like hypocrites, right? Because if you're supposed to be a Christian, you're not supposed to do shit like this, right? Wouldn't you agree? Generally, Christians are not supposed to be rude. They're not supposed to, tell people to fuck off. They're not supposed to use things like profanity, right? Or hatred or anything like that. Generally, isn't that the idea, right? But yeah, seems like the more Christian you are, the more likely you are to do those things. Isn't that right? God damn it, I want to turn off the shape. How do I turn off, what is this? Strength? No. I want to turn off. So you have like the pen pressure is what I want to turn off here, right? Brush tip, diameter, intensity, spacing, density, randomness, spikes. Fuck. See, I got to learn how to use all this stuff. Because there we go, pressure. Turn that off. Enable pen settings. Perfect. Okay. Now, is that what I'm looking for? Ah, absolutely perfect. Okay. Got to remember how to do that. Yeah, like it seems like the more religious you are, or not just specifically religious, but the more likely you are to specifically be a evangelical American Christian, the more likely you are to use the kind of language that this guy used and believe certain things which are for the most part antithetical to mainstream Christianity, right? You are as a Christian commanded to turn the other cheek when it comes to stuff like this, right? You are supposed to render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, right? And that is not just some, you know, rule that they like pulled out of context from like several different Bible verses put together or something like that. The same way that you would say abortion, like the stance against abortion is, or the stance against divorces, or something like that. These are direct quotes from the mouth of Jesus Christ specifically, right? Jesus Christ, if you believe that he existed and you believe that the Bible is the actual testament of things that he actually said, if you believe these things, then you are commanded to turn the other cheek. When someone strikes you, you are commanded to turn around and say, hit me again. If someone sues you, you are commanded to give them everything they want. You know, what I don't remember the exact quote, but it's something like if somebody sues you for your for your coat, give him also your cloak as well, something like that. You know, if someone strikes you on the cheek, turn your other cheek and say, hit me here too. That's what you are commanded to be passive and to counter hate with love. That is what Christians are supposed to do, right? And American evangelical and like just conservative Christians in general, because they're not just evangelicals, but American Baptists, evangelicals, and conservative Christians of all stripes do the exact opposite of that. They use every dirty trick in the book they have to get their way, right? Kind of like with the current attack on abortion, you know, that's a perfect example, right? Abortion is something that 70% of the people in the country want. You know, it's been established law for 50 years at this point, and for 50 years, conservative Christians in this country have been using every dirty trick they have in order to undermine it. Um, you know, in order to get people in important positions of power so that when the time comes, they could challenge it and reverse that. And even though 70% of the people in the country support it, which is including, conservatives, other conservatives in that number, even though that's the truth, they want to be able to enforce their will on everybody else. And they're not using democracy to do this, they're using dirty tricks and you know, anti-democratic methods in order to get this done. You know, why do you think Amy Coney Barrett is on the Supreme Court in the first place? You know, that's why. It's to overturn Roe versus Wade. You know, that's the entire, and then you have like things like these, that law in Texas where you're allowed to just sue people into not getting abortions and that kind of thing. And then, you know, and then Supreme Court is letting it stand and all this other shit. And it's like, well, why? Right? Because they don't actually care about democracy. They don't actually care about what people want. They don't care about self rule. And they don't actually give a shit about their own religion when their own religion says that they're not supposed to be doing the things they're doing. You know, what do you think? That's what render unto Caesar, which is that which is Caesar. What does that actually mean? You know, what does it mean? It doesn't mean, just give him the money because it has Caesar's face on it. It means you're supposed to obey the government, okay? Because you're not, you know, you're supposed to obey the government and not rock the boat and do what the government says because you live your life outside of what the government wants. That's what that verse is supposed to mean, right? Christians are not supposed to partake in violent revolutions, right? They're not supposed to. They're supposed to live separately and not get involved in politics. That's what that verse means, right? They're doing the exact opposite of that. So when this guy goes on here, right, lies to people and says, I'm a follower of Christ, and then tells the president to go fuck off and is now like, booking media appearances on talk shows and shit over that. Seems a little antithetical to Christianity. It's like you can't be both. You can't serve what's the passage? You can't serve Mammon and then also Jesus. And the thing is, I'm not even a Christian. I'm not even a Christian. I'm like agnostic, right? I'm like the last person who should be saying this shit. And that's the thing. It's fucking, maybe I would be a Christian if people like this actually followed what they're supposed to fucking follow, right? That's one of the reasons why I'm actually not a Christian, because of the massive amounts of fucking hypocrites that fill Christian circles, right? Seriously, like, why should you? Yeah, because it seems it's a big waste. Just me personally getting a little bit of a tangent here. It seems like a big waste of time if to invest in something like this when everybody else who fucking follows it is just gonna like do whatever they want, you know? Because that's what people actually are really doing. People just do whatever they want. They don't actually follow their fucking religions. And it seems like religions of all types have this problem. But since we live in the United States where Christians dominate everything, we're the ones we always have to talk about them. Anyway, so yeah, wanted to just bring these two guys up because these are good examples of conservative heroes nowadays. And this kind of got me thinking, who would you consider to be a hero on the liberal progressive side, right? Thinking about this, we don't really have heroes in this sort of same way that you have, like, say, the way they're treating this Jared Shrek guy or Rittenhouse on the right wing. We don't really have that, you know, on on the left. The closest that I could think of is Greta Thunberg, right? Kind of, sort of. I mean, can you really name anybody else? Like maybe Bernie Sanders, but not really. At a Bernie rally, Bernie Sanders doesn't come out with his like theme song, right? Like he's fucking like you know, uh, Goldberg or fucking Triple H or some shit. You know what I mean? He's not like coming out like in the WWE and not really, right? AOC doesn't have like a theme song like she's a professional wrestler. Like people are not chanting her name when she walks out on the stage and shit like that, right? And even somebody like Greta Thunberg is probably the closest analogy that I can think of. And even still, we don't hero worship Greta Thunberg. You know what I mean? There's no like people aren't like fucking cheering and no, not really. Greta Thunberg is more like she goes, she makes a speech or whatever, and then everybody, she actually says some things of worth. That's another thing. And what is she known for? She's an activist. She's actually doing something. She's going out and giving speeches and appearing in front of the fucking like UN and stuff like that. And her cause is something that is actually like good, right? That will like, she's actually working towards like saving the fucking human race. That's what she's known for. What is Rittenhouse known for? Murdering somebody, right? That's what Rittenhouse is known for, right? What is fucking Jared Schmeck known for, right? Using vulgarities, a euphemism for vulgarities against the president of the United States, telling the president to go fuck off. That's what he's known for. And it just really got me thinking, like, the difference between, like, the people they admire and the people we admire. It's like, I don't know, when they say that it's all the same and in politics is all the same thing, and I still get that even today. You still get people who are saying shit like, "Oh, both sides are the same and everybody does the same." No, no, they're not the same, right? We don't turn murderers into heroes, right? We don't turn fucking essentially like this guy Jared Schmeck is essentially a fucking internet troll. That's what he's famous for. He's famous for trolling the president, right? Like, and I'm sure, like, can you name a time when somebody told Donald Trump to fuck off and then he became an instant fucking celebrity? Like, no, But I'm sure plenty of people have told Donald Trump to fuck off. In fact, I can name right now, there was a time, if you remember, back during the Bush administration when somebody told Dick Cheney to fuck off on national TV, right? Do you remember that? That actually happened. Can you even name that guy's name, the guy who did it? Like, it was on national TV, and he just basically told Dick Cheney to fuck off. And he didn't use some euphemism. He didn't try to hide it or anything. He basically said, "Go fuck yourself" on national TV to Dick Cheney. What was that guy's name? We don't know. Do you? Can you do you know his name? I don't know his name because we didn't turn him into a hero, right? It was like, oh, it was on the news for one day, and then by the end of the day, you forgot about it. And it was even sort of like people looked down on it and said, dude, this is like fucking trashy. Because it was. It's like, even Dick Cheney, yeah, okay, use your freedom of speech however you choose. But even that is trashy as hell. Like, it just, I don't know. It just really kind of blows me away. And I think it really does show the difference between us and them, you know. And I know that sounded just very tribalistic right now, what I just said, but it's actually true. You know what I mean? It's actually true. It shows the lack of substance on the right wing. That's what it shows, where they just sort of like circle like that, and it's kind of like, they just circle jerk each other because they don't have anything. And that's really what it is. They don't have anything meaningful to talk about. They don't have any policy solutions, you know, and that's because they can't. They since they don't have any policy solutions at all, right? They don't have any proposals. They don't have any kind of solutions at all that would like make people's lives better. Then the things they have to focus on is shit like this, culture war shit. That's what this is. Both of these things are culture war things, Rittenhouse and then Jared fucking Schmeck. I still can't believe that's that guy's real name, Schmeck. It's culture war bullshit, and that's all they've got. That's all they've got, right? We have some real problems out in the world now. There are real, actual problems out there. Just yesterday, 1,400 people died from the Rona. Yesterday, right? 2 years after all this shit is still going on, pandemic still happening after 2 years, right? After 70% of the country has gotten one dose, there are still 1,400 people dying because of that 30%. 30% of 300 million is like, you know, a ridiculous amount of money of people. It's like 90 million people or something, right? So, or 70 million or something like that. All right. So even though we still have like, we've gotten like the majority of people vaccinated in this country, there's still enough to keep the virus going and hundreds of people dying. That's, what's their solution to that? They don't have one, you know. Their solution is do nothing, is to don't wear a mask, don't, whatever. Last month, in December, what was that? 61 tornadoes in like a 24-hour period in the Midwest that just completely destroyed all of those cities and everything in the Midwest, like entire towns wiped out by fucking tornadoes, right? Obvious fucking very just extremely obvious like climate disaster, right? And what's their solution for that? What are they going to do about this, right? It's like this is a obviously like fucking caused by climate change. You're not supposed to get tornadoes in fucking December like that. What do they propose? Nothing. They don't have any type of proposal at all. There's no solutions whatsoever, right, from them. It's just, you know, wait, now how did I turn that off again? I turned this thing and I went to what was it? Blending mode. I think it was blending mode. See, I want to turn it back on. Brush tip. No. Opacity. It was, there we go. It was that. Wait, no, was it opacity? No, it wasn't the pasty. It was maybe it was that. I don't know. Let's turn it back on. Let's see what happens. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So I want to so I'm like adding a little bit of highlights here. I want to enable the pen pressure just a little bit. So yeah, it just really kind of, really, I think it just really emphasizes like these are the types of people they're propping up, right? And it's kind of like a party in their death throes. So we should, as actual people who are interested in solutions, continue to just emphasize this point. Whenever you get into a debate with somebody online or something like that, bring that up. Okay, well, what's your solution? You know, what are you going to do about it? What do you want to do about it? And watch how they falter when they like come up with no ideas of their own. And this is how we can win. This is how we can win elections, right? You know, a lot has been made over how like people vote depending on their emotions and shit like that. That kind of thing, right? But yeah, I think we're kind of getting to that point where it's like you need to start putting up or you need to put up or shut up. You know what I mean? And this is we will I think this is going to be a tool that we can use in order to kind of like demonstrate what we have to offer, you know. Anyway, folks, let's see here. There was a couple things I wanted to go over a little bit. Let's see, where are we at here? Let's sort of zoom out. Yeah, looking pretty good, right? Wouldn't you say? It's a little bit slower. I'm learning how to use the program here. Not too bad. Um, oh, they came over early. Crap. My parents are here. Hopefully they won't. Hopefully they won't walk in the room here. But that's okay. I told them 1 o'clock. They came a little early. Anyway, let's see. There was one guy I wanted to spend. Let's spend the last hour here because we're about at 12 o'clock. There was this guy I wanted to show you all. Wow. You can kind of see that, right? Okay. Anyway, I found my new favorite YouTuber. His name is John Doyle, and he is a, let's just open that up.
If you've spent more than
Nope, quiet. Move him over here. Close this. Okay, so
if you've spent more than
shut
5
up. Quiet.
if you've spent
Nope. Okay. So here's this guy. I just heard of him yesterday. All right. And John Doyle looks like a conservative sort of conservative Christian kind of, he's got the buddy bobblehead thing here. I don't know what this is. Heck off, commie. Wow. What, you don't want to use the F word? Is that what it is? Oh, or is this his like call sign? HOC. Heck off, commie. Wow. Yeah, that's really funny stuff. And so anyway, he's going to talk about the separation of church and state here, and this is going to be funny. And now I'm kind of going into this blind. I've watched maybe about 15 seconds of this guy and realized that no, we should do this live because this is one of those people that just sort of like spends. He's one of these guys that like pretty much every single thing he says is wrong, and he uses that Gish Gallop technique. You know what I mean, where you just sort of throw everything at the wall as much as possible to see what sticks, and then you don't spend any time on anything. So if anybody like, if you were like debating this dude, he would just like rapid fire a bunch of bullshit out, and you'd have to like, you'd have to like spend all your time like disproving the shit that he just said, and it makes him sound really smart, but without actually like saying anything of substance. So let's see what the man here has to say. Let me see here. Everything look good? Okay, here we go. So this is the very real link between Christianity and conservatism.
spent more than 5 minutes operating in the realm of American politics, and in particular right-wing American politics, and you've probably heard something to the effect of, America was built upon Christian values. Christian values are what made America great, what made America exceptional. And this is true. But because we're lazy and we enjoy the temporary perceived comforts of a secular society, we also think that this country was built upon religious freedom or something, which isn't true. That's, of course, what they tell you in public school today.
Yes, there we go. Uh, let's rewind that one more time. Okay, so because this is like I said, that was a lot, and this is only 18 seconds. So let's rewind that one more time. What is he
Great, what
saying?
made America exceptional. And this is true. But because we're lazy and we enjoy the temporary perceived comforts of a secular society, we also think that this country was built upon religious freedom or something, which isn't true.
This country was not built on religious freedom. Uh, that's complete and total bullshit of the highest order right off the bat. We're 21 seconds in, and this dude is already spreading lies. So when they say separation of church and state, right? Like that actually comes from I think it was Thomas Jefferson, right? So they built that into the Constitution specifically, right? Congress will make no law, you know. What was it? Endorsing the basically I can't remember the exact quote, right? But basically it says that, the government is not supposed to prop one religion up in front of another, right? The government is not supposed to be in the business of endorsing a religion. And around that time, that's really what, that was unusual, right? You had things like the Church of England, for example, like so governments at that time in the 17th, the 18th and 17th and 18th centuries, like very much did endorse one religion over the other, you know. And the idea was this in the United States, we weren't going to do that. We were going to stay out of that, have a secular government, and allow people to worship as they want, right? And it just so happens that yes, okay, there has been lots of it's not like there never were religious people in government. That's not true, right? And it's not like, the government didn't sponsor, religious institutions and stuff like that, because they did back then. Especially the further back you go, the more likely that is to be true. But the principle remains the same, right? It doesn't matter that everybody back then was a Christian or that this was written with Christians in mind, right? The principle remains the same. And even if you go back, like even to the very beginning of the Republic there, the very first military action they ever had to do with sending the Marines to Tripoli because there were pirates which were raiding American merchant vessels, right, that were based out of Tripoli. And this was like the very first, when the United States became the United States, right? Before the very first like war. It wasn't really a war, it was like a military action, right? And in that, the Treaty of Tripoli is what came out of that. And in that language, it specifically says in the United States, we do not endorse one religion over another, right? We don't care. And, the wording of the treaty comes down to we don't care that you're Muslims. You know, you're free to do what you want. We're not opposing you for that. It's because you're kidnapping and raiding our merchant vessels and shit. Right? So that's like, this is definitely something, read those those read the writings of our founding fathers. They specifically say this shit, but people like him don't like that. Like people like this guy, he's one of these people that like basically is trying to say that the Constitution applies only to Christians, and that if you're not a Christian, it doesn't apply to you. So they have the right, according to him, in order to restrict your freedom based on their religion. And this is going to be a theme that we'll see all, um, dominionism is what they call that, Christian dominionism, right? So let's move on. We're only 21 seconds in. I do want to get through a little bit of this before we end it today. So, what time is it anyway? Shit, how come there's no clock here? What the fuck? Hang on a second. Okay, it's 12. All right, so we got like an hour. All right. Why is my clock? See, it's all kind of jacked up here. I'm using a new laptop and everything. But anyway, let's move on.
That's, of course, what they tell you in public school to justify the promotion of the religions of the state, Satanism, atheism, progressivism, etc. Just
The religions of the state, Satanism, progressivism, atheism. So somehow the United States is promoting these things? That's another very typical um, of dominionist rhetoric, right? Basically doing that, anything that's not Christianity is Satanism, is what he's basically saying right there. Satanism and atheism are the same thing. That's another one that he's claiming, right? And you see this in dominionists talk about this all the time, you know, because it's that kind of like, you're with us or you're against us sort of mentality. You know what I mean? The idea that we're all being tricked by demons, and the real reason that you don't like Jesus is because the real reason you don't believe is because you hate God. Shit like that. And it just has no fucking basis in reality, like at all. Right? Turn that off again. Okay. No rational fucking basis in reality. The government is not endorsing any religion at all. Satanism is not the same thing as atheism. It's not the same thing as progressivism. Progressivism is not a religion. It is a political philosophy, right? But it's all the same to these guys, right? And you notice, like, he's just going to move on from that. He's not going to, like, try to explain that. He's not going to elaborate on that. Well, what do you mean by this? He's just going to straight move past it and just take it as a given.
just like, in the latter half of the 20th century, they use these ideas of free speech and free expression, man, to promote communism and degeneracy throughout the culture. Why would you ever take these people at their word?
Free speech, free expression to spread communism and degeneracy. Okay. And what was that picture that he just used? What was that picture? Let's move that back a little bit. Free speech, right? So these are these people right here, right? If I'm not mistaken, I think this is taken from a anti civil rights rally. I don't know. I'll have to look this up. But I think I recognize this photo. I think this photo is from an anti-civil rights rally where they're talking about like, you know, um, and saying freedom of speech in order to, support segregationism. Pretty sure this is where this photo's from. I've seen this photo before, but don't I could be wrong about that, so let's not, take me at my word there. But generally, that was a big attack against. That was a big attack also back in the day against, civil rights. Was that they were all commies, you know, and you would see like people saying like Martin Luther King was a communist and stuff like that. And so yeah, nice little bit of racism thrown in there too. And then the whole thing with the degeneracy, right? Degeneracy is a code word for anti-gay, anti-trans rights that the right wing throws around because, obviously, if you're not a straight, cis heterosexual white person, then you obviously must be a degenerate. And, that's the thing. It's like the guy just threw it out there, didn't elaborate on any of this. Anybody at home watching this is just, it gets That's sort of like when you just rapid fire this shit into somebody's brain like this so fast, like without even like giving them a chance to think about it, then people are more likely to let it go, you know? It's a that's why they use this tactic when they do debates a lot, because you can't spend all of your time like debunking everything that the guy says. So if you don't address it, then the audience sort of takes it like it's true. They just sort of like, you know, that's the idea, is that this is what he's trying to do. He's trying to like throw it into your mind really fast so you don't have time to think about it, and then you just sort of accept it. So later on, when he like says things that, reiterates these points, right, then you'll like, it's like we've already accepted that part. You know what I mean? So anyway, moving on.
Expression, man, to promote communism and degeneracy throughout
And that's also, just before we move on from this, right? What's he also saying here? Free speech and free expression promotes communism and degeneracy. So obviously, free speech and free expression must be bad things that we can't allow because this is what they're used for. That's essentially what he's saying here, right? Which is kind of antithetical to everything that, the United States stands for, right? So essentially, the guy wants to take these rights away, or he wants to put limits on them, is what he's saying. It's okay to put limits on these rights because they're used for bad things, right? Guy's a fucking fascist. Moving
the
on.
culture. Why would you ever take these people at their word? But yeah, so they tell you that the founding fathers were refugees fleeing religious persecution, just like the Muslims are now. Yeah, well, that would be like saying people who wanted to go to Five Guys instead of In-N-Out were seeking dietary freedom. They're still eating burgers, bro.
What the fuck does that even mean? What the fuck does that mean? Let's go back to that. What?
Degeneracy throughout the culture. Why would you ever take these people at their word? But yeah, so they tell you that the founding fathers were refugees fleeing religious persecution, just like the Muslims are now. Yeah, well, that would be like saying people who wanted to go to Five Guys instead of In-N-Out were seeking dietary freedom. They're still eating burgers, bro. Virtually
That makes no sense. That makes zero sense, what he just said. Like, the founding fathers were wanted they it wasn't the founding fathers who wanted religious freedom. That was like the pilgrims. Like, first off, like that was like, you know, 100 years before the United States was formed, right? Where people were fleeing to America for religious freedom. The actual founding fathers were like several hundred years after that, first off. So, Benjamin Franklin and George Washington and and Thomas Jefferson and John Hancock and all those people were like, this is like this is like 200 years after the Pilgrims, after like settlers came to the United States in order to escape religious persecution, number one. So first off, just on the factual basis itself, he's incorrect there, right? Secondly, I don't understand that burger analogy. That doesn't make any sense either. Like, what the fuck is he trying to say? Like, I don't know. Can somebody explain that to me? What does the burger analogy here actually mean? Like, oh, you're still eating hamburgers? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? The founding fathers were Christians. So are you trying to say that their religion is just two different kinds? Like, Christianity and Islam are just two different shades of the same burger restaurant? Like, it doesn't make any sense. That really, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not smart enough to understand this, but that sounded kind of fucking stupid. Lewis Hadjock is comparing dietary choices to life and death, and people I say make bad analogies. Oh, hey, how you doing? Uh, oh, they came a little early. Okay. Well, here, what time is it anyway? 12. Okay, give me like 30 minutes, and then I'll end this. Okay. All right, guys. Full screen. May need to end this one a little early today, but let's go a little bit more, and then maybe we'll cut it at 12:30 instead of 1 today. So sorry. It is New Year's. Moving on.
Virtually every European American identified as a Christian in 1776, except for a couple thousand Jews, bro. When they say that the Constitution was written for a religious people and that it was Christian in 1776. Yeah, well, that would be like saying people who wanted to go to Five Guys instead of In-N-Out were seeking dietary freedom. They're still eating burgers, bro. Virtually every European American identified as a Christian in 1776, except for a couple thousand Jews, bro.
So, why would that matter? Why would that matter? What is he trying to say? Like what? Like what? So, since they were all Christians, then what? See, this is the usual dominionist rhetoric. This guy's kind of sticking to the script right off the bat. According to dominionists, since they were all Christians, right, then that means that they wrote it with Christians in mind. So any other religion, it just doesn't matter. So if you're a Muslim or an atheist or whatever, then freedom of religion doesn't apply to you. Freedom of religion means freedom for Christian religions to practice Christianity. That's what he's trying to say, right? That's what he's implying right there. He's basically saying you don't have a right to, free speech. You don't have a right to freedom of religion. We do. And you're that way we can do what we want. You know, it's basically, you know, Christian fascism is what this is, that we're going to impose our will upon you whether you like it or not, and you don't have a choice kind of thing. And he's basically using phony baloney history in order to back that up. So, standard shit right there. And, I like also on his set that he's got, he's got this sort of little implied violence in the background. He's got a rifle and a helmet and a bayonet, and then a little soldier with commie tears. Basically, just a nice little subliminal hint that he's prepared to use violence in order to back up these, you know, in order to back up his will, to enforce his will on everybody, right? Which is something that, I like how nowadays in 2021 we just can't you know, have a rational discussion about these things without threatening to kill people. Dynacat, thanks for joining. Yeah, I'm in California. So, anyway, moving on a little bit more. I really like this guy. I think we're going to have to watch more of his videos here because we are literally only 45 seconds in, and there's already been enough material for 17 streams here.
When they say that the Constitution was written for a religious people and that it wouldn't function with any other population, they were talking about Christians, bro. It never would have occurred to them.
Yep, exactly what I just said. They were talking about Christians, so it only applies to Christians.
That they'd be dealing with all this other nonsense in their country, bro. But
dealing with all this other nonsense in their country. See, that's dominionism, is what that is. That's we're going to impose our will on everyone else and take away your freedom, and we don't care. That's basically what he's saying right there. That is just, first off, just factually not true. That is not what the founding fathers, how they wrote the Constitution. They did not have that in mind when they wrote it. Freedom for Christians and not everybody else. That's complete 100% grade A bullshit of the highest order, And it's really, it really behooves us to pay attention to these people and make sure they don't secure any kind of power whatsoever, right? Let's see. A few more. Let's go on.
But we fumbled for a century or so, and so now we have to figure this out. Oh, but the First Amendment says that freedom of religion and separation of church and state. No, it doesn't actually. First of all,
right, let's see where he's going with this.
Separation of church and state is not a real thing. That's not written anywhere in any of the founding documents of the.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Right off the bat. Lying his ass off. Yes, it is. Right. Let's look up here. First Amendment. Let's, just to, First Amendment. Congress of the United States of America. Where the hell is it? First Amendment, U.S. Constitution, U.S. law. Let's see. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or press. So, respecting the establishment of religion, prohibiting the free exercise thereof seems kind of opposite of what he just said, wouldn't you say? It seems there that it says that the government is not allowed to tell you which religion is official and which isn't, which one you're allowed to practice or which isn't, right? And nowhere does it actually say in there that this only applies to Christians. Doesn't say that whatsoever, right? Seems like this guy just lied his ass off, doesn't it? Right? Seems like John Doyle is misrepresenting the facts because he has an agenda, doesn't it? Seems like John Doyle's a lying piece of fucking shit. Moving on.
This country. That is in reference to a letter that Thomas Jefferson penned in the early 1800s, but that's about it. Secondly,
Oh my God. Okay, moving on. Sorry.
properly understood in terms of how our country was established, it is a separation of church from state, which means that the intent was to prevent the state from interfering with the practice of religion, specifically Christianity.
That's correct. That is correct. He's right there. It was intended, but it goes both ways, right? The state is not supposed to interfere with the way that the church works. That is 100% true, right? The church is also not supposed to interfere in the way the state works. That is also 100% true as well, right? It goes both ways. This is why churches don't pay taxes, okay? Because churches are not supposed to have any political power, right? There's specific laws against that. You know, it's even supposed to be a law. A church is not even supposed to be able to tell you who to vote for. They're not supposed to be able to like, have a sermon and say vote for this guy over that guy. That's something that is just not enforced anymore. I can't remember the exact name of the law, but there's definitely that law does exist where you're not supposed to actually be able to tell people how they're supposed to vote. You're not supposed to if you run a religious organization, you're not supposed to be able to tell people like who to who your church endorses, right? That's supposed to be illegal. And if you do that, you're supposed to lose your tax exempt status for that. That is just simply not enforced anymore. And God, I can't remember. I'll have to look it up. I'll have to look that up. But I think that should be something that we should maybe start enforcing, you know. Moving on here.
Which is why the First Amendment says that Congress can't establish a religion, except that it has, hasn't it? This is
No,
not exactly a fresh take, but what's the
Congress has not established a religion. And see how he just moved on from that? See how he just sort of threw that out there? But of course, Congress has. And then he just moves on. He doesn't explain any of that. He doesn't try to, like, justify what he just said. It's sort of like programming almost. What do they call that? Neuralistic programming, which is generally a load of shit, but he's kind of doing it here. He's sort of introducing these concepts to people so that they'll just accept it as part of the narrative without actually thinking about what it really means, you know? Hmm. It's I don't know, kind of insidious. Also kind of makes me want to God, it's he's doing the Ben Shapiro thing is what he's doing, where they just sort of like gish gallop and rapid fire a bunch of shit in order to you know, make themselves sound like they're intelligent and sound like they know what they're talking about. But if you take any particular item of what they're saying and break it down, it doesn't stand up under the scrutiny. Right. Um, I don't know, man. I think we're going to have to continue on with this guy. I'm afraid, guys, that I'm going to have to cut it a little short this week. Um, Unfortunately, usually we would go until 1 o'clock, but gonna have to cut it short. But I think we're gonna come back to him. I think we're gonna come back to this, I want to, in fact, I might do just a stream where it's only this video because this is an hour long. Who knows what kind of ridiculous shenanigans this dude gets up to in here, right? Let's turn this off for now, though. Anyway, guys, I think, yeah, I have some prior engagements that I must attend to. But thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. You know, I know that we haven't had a stream in a little while, but I think I'm going to be doing one probably on Wednesday of this week, um, at around 8 or 9 o'clock. We're gonna do another stream, and maybe we'll continue on with John Doyle. So, anyway, everybody out there, before we end this, just want to say a couple things. This year's been really shitty. Wouldn't you agree? This has been a very shitty year. And, let's hope that 2022 is much better than 2021, right? Everybody out there, stay safe, get vaccinated if you haven't been vaccinated. And, we have a lot of good things to look forward to if we all work together, right? And we can turn stuff around. All the problems that are affecting our country now, most of them are things that are within our control. And it's up to us. We're the ones that have to do it. No one's gonna save us. The president won't save us. The government won't save us. You're not gonna be able to elect anybody that's gonna change anything. It's through your normal, ordinary, daily actions by which you make the world a better place. So, anyhow, here's hoping that 2022 is much better than 2021. All right, guys. Thank you, Lewis the Hedgehog. Thank you, Dynacat. Thanks you guys for joining. This stream was a little crappy, a little disoriented, a little disjointed, but that's okay. I will see you guys on Wednesday. Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific is when we're going to pick this back up. So, adios, guys. Take it easy.